The COUNTIF function in Excel counts the number of cells in a range that meet a certain criteria. So we're literally looking at a range of cells and saying count each cell if it matches a certain value. So this is, over here we have a subset of data from our UFO data project that you can find in the dashboard. But say we're looking at this and we want to see, okay, how many UFOs were sighted in the state of Texas in this subset of data? So what we would do is we would say, remember, every formula starts with an equal sign, and we would say count if. I'm going to pick the column C here. So C colon C means the entire column C, comma. And then I'm going to put TX in quotation marks here. Remember, because if we're matching with a text value, it goes inside quotation marks. And then I'll go ahead and hit enter. So what that tells us is that there are 58 cells in column C that are TX. I could do that just by filtering this column here, hitting apply, and then I could count up the values, but that's hard to do if there's a lot of data. I could make mistakes. It takes a long time. Also, the data could be changing. So it's helpful to have a formula that tells you, okay, in this column, 58 of these cells say Texas. So let's say I want to do the same thing for the shape of the UFO sighting. So let's say I'm interested in the disk shape. So I could say equals count if, let's pick column D here, and we'll say disk. Okay, so 83 sightings that were disk shaped in this subset of data. And one other fun thing I noticed is that there are two Hudsons here, one in Massachusetts, one in Kansas. I know there's a Hudson in New York. I know there's a Hudson in Wisconsin. So funny how that's kind of a common town name. But so let's say I wanted to count the number of UFO sightings in a town called Hudson, regardless of the state. So I'll say count if, we'll say column B, Hudson. Not Hudsoon, Hudson. 4. Okay, so now I'm going to walk through the actual exercises on excelexercises.com. If you're not on there, you should be. There's a link in the comments if you want to go through these exercises with us. Table of data here, and it wants us to type this formula to get the number of branches in Minnesota. So that's easy enough. I'll go ahead and hit equal sign, count if. I'm going to hit the left arrow key to go over to column B and hit control spacebar to pick the whole column. And then MN, remember that's text, so it goes inside quotes. So this is saying within column B, how many cells match MN? And I'm going to expect to get, well, there's one right here, another right here, and another right here. So I'm going to expect to get a value of 3. Now it wants us to write this formula with a comparison operator. So these comparison operators, when we're comparing numbers, also go inside quotes. I'm going to go ahead and hit count if. I'm going to pick column C. And then inside quotes, we're going to say greater than 500. So what we're saying now is, okay, within column C, how many of these values are greater than 500? So I'm going to expect a value of, here's 1, 2, 3. This question isn't asking us to write a formula. This is asking, what would this formula return? What would be the result of this formula if I typed it into Excel? So the formula says count if A2 to A8. So we're looking at the data in column A. And we have a wildcard. So M asterisk means any text that starts with M followed by anything else. Remember, because the asterisk can be any number of characters, it can be 0 characters, it just has to be anything that starts with M and is followed by anything else. So In column A, we have, okay, Minneapolis, that's 1. Madison, that's 2. And that's it. So what would this return? It would be 2, because there are only 2 cells in the specified range that match this pattern. Okay, now remember that the question mark wildcard replaces exactly 1 character. So here we're saying in column A, how many cells match the pattern of M followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 unspecified characters. So anything where the text is 7 characters long, that starts with M. So we'll look and we'll see, okay, Minneapolis, that's too long. But Madison, that's 7 characters long and starts with M. So looking at the rest of column A, Madison is the only thing that matches that pattern. So the answer is 1. Now it's asking us, what would count if, we're looking at column C, anything greater than or equal to 500. So let's look and see, okay, from C2 to C8, here to here, how many of these values are greater than or equal to 500? So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it wants us to write a function that returns the number of branches where sales was less than 200. Okay, so I'll say COUNTIF, open parentheses, and I'll use my arrow keys here. I'll hit the left and down arrow key, and then I'll hold shift and hit the down arrow key a few more times. So C2 to C8, and it wants us to find how many branches had sales less than 200. So remember, that goes inside quotes, and I'll get the less sign, 200. And doing a quick eyeball right now, I don't see any values that are less than 200 in this range, so I should get 0. Now write a COUNTIF function that returns the number of branches where sales was not equal to 500. So I'll do the same thing. COUNTIF, let's see, shift arrow key, where sales was not equal to 500. So even if we're using the not equal operator, that still goes within quotes, not equal to 500. Remember, this thing and this thing means not equal to. And within this range, I see there's 1 500, so the other 6 are not equal to 500. And that's what we get. All right, now we're looking at COUNTIF A and B. So within columns A and B, how many match this pattern of M followed by anything? So we already looked in column A, we have Minneapolis and Madison, so that's 2. But then in column B, how many cells match this pattern? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So in the range of columns A and B, we have 6 cells that match this pattern. And now remember, the question mark replaces exactly 1 character. So within the columns A and B, how many match this pattern? So exactly 2 characters that start with M. Well, nothing in this column matches. Here's one, MN, that matches. Here's another, MI also matches. And here's a 4th. And here's a fun one. COUNTIF is not case sensitive. So that means that whatever we put in here, whether it's capital or lowercase, it doesn't matter when we're matching to the values in the column. So what would this return? Well, we see Minneapolis here, and just because the capitalization is different, that doesn't matter because it's not case sensitive. So we would still get a value of 1.